here's example 6 on the 7.2 notes. So here it says, you are making a house of cards similar to the one shown. We want to write a rule for the number of cards in the nth row if the top row is row 1. Now what we need to do is figure out how many cards are each in each row. Basically, if you see, we have 1, 2, 3 rows. We're going to figure out how many cards are in each of those rows. Okay, if we count here and we look in our first row, we have 1, 2, 3 cards. Okay. Now in our second row, we have 6 cards. And then in our last row, we should have 9 cards. Now, since we're writing a rule, and this is for our arithmetic sequence here, we are going to use the formula a sub n equals a sub 1 plus, and then we do n minus 1 times d. Okay, so here we need to figure out our a sub 1 and our common difference, which is our d value. So we look at what we just did above. We see that 3 is our first term. Okay, so 3 is our a sub 1. Now our common difference, all we have to do is just figure out how far 3 is from 6. Well, that's 3, and then 6 from 9, that's also 3. So our common difference here is 3. Now remember, we need to distribute the 3 to the n and to the negative 1. When you do all the calculations, which you guys can kind of do on your own, your rule here should be 3n. Okay, now we're going to move on to part B here. Now for part B, it says, what is the total number of cards if the house of cards has 14 rows? So here, for when it says total number, that represents the sum. So we are using the sum formula. So that's the S sub n equals n times our a sub 1, which remember that's our first term, plus our a sub n, which is our last term, divided by 2. Okay, now here we have 14 rows total. So we are finding the sum of the first 14 rows. So we plug 14 in for n. Our a sub 1, we already figured that out, which was 3. Now our last term, okay, a sub n, in this case is going to be our a sub 14. What we're going to do is plug 14 into our rule that we just found earlier. So we're going to plug 14 into the n. So we do 3 times 14. That should give us 42 here. Okay, so we have 3 plus 42. And once again, we divide that by 2. You can do the calculations here. So that means after you've done all the calculations, you should get about 315 cards. So that is basically the total amount of cards for the first 14 rows. Okay, make sure if you have any questions, you can either email me or come in before or after school.